Okay.
Konnichiwa, and welcome back to Pushbox Banter. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Craig. And today we are pushing, we are boxing, and we are bantering here on Pushbox Banter.
That's right.
And we're going to be talking about F1 and all that implies about the Suzuka race in Japan, Grand Prix that has happened, that has occurred.
That's right.
Yeah.
The Japanese Grand Prix.
Yes.
So, Craig, did you know Japan is made up of over 6,000 islands?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I knew it was a lot, but no idea on 6,000.
Yeah. And it sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire.
You know, that's not the same if you don't have Johnny Cash in it.
Yeah. So the Pacific Ring of Fire is actually like 3 different tectonic plates
Yeah.
that's
awesome.
make up the Ring of Fire. Anyway, it's got over 100 volcanoes, and the most famous one is actually Mount Fiji, or Fuji.
Let's go with Fuji.
I messed up already. Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
So Mount Fuji, do you know how many volcanoes actually makes up Mount Fuji?
At least one.
Yeah, it's actually 3. And they're
What?
kind of layered all over on top of each other.
That's pretty cool. I know, like the last eruption was like in I think in the 1700s.
Yeah.
I think
I think so. That's right.
it's like one of the most iconic. Like when you think of a mountain, like just the volcanic structure, like the shape of it, it's like perfect on both sides. You know,
Yeah, no, for sure.
it's great. Great
Yeah.
for photos.
Yeah, I didn't know it was 3, but I could
didn't
see how that could be Konfuji.
No,
Anyway,
sorry guys. I didn't know. I didn't know he was going to do this. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. And so also like with it being on the Ring of Fire, one of the cool things that Japan has is they have all these hot pools and everything, and they call them like I think it's called ojins. I think so. Yeah, something like that. But which is really cool. Like if you're traveling there, you got all these hot spas and things that you can go to all over the place. So Japan. You know, you think of Japan and you think of a few different things, all sorts of different things. Historical culture, you think of like shogun, you think of samurais, you know, swords.
yeah, it's my favorite thing.
Yeah, Hanzu sword. But also think of like exports or imports, I guess. But in this case, talking about exports, Japan is huge with automobiles and auto parts on their exports. Those are 2 of the biggest things. And with F1 racing, you've got BBS and Honda that support F1.
Yeah.
So BBS makes all of their wheels, and which is actually and then of course Honda makes the engines for the RB and the Visa Cash App,
Right.
RBs. So, but BBS makes the wheels for all of the teams, which is really freaking awesome.
That is
I mean,
pretty
you
cool.
have some scenarios where that is, but these are all forged wheels, and so the difference between forged and just cast is the forge is going to make a stronger wheel out of it. So whenever those drivers hit the gas pedal and they start going, they distribute all that energy into the wheels, and the forged wheels are stronger and able to take on all of that acceleration and not break and shatter. So that's part of why you don't see wheels like shattering throughout races, but or through accidents or shunts or anything like that.
Right, yeah.
But it's pretty cool. Like the process of a forged wheel, and a lot of you guys know this, is you'll see in different shows and different movies, and you'll see like somebody and they go to the smith, and all of a sudden you see him like hitting steel and like forming this sword. You know, you've seen it in all the great movies like Lord of the Rings, and different things like that, and Kill Bill, things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but whenever they do that, they're literally like they're pressing together the different particles of steel. They're making them thinner. They're making them more flexible. They're binding them together so there's less space in between the steel. A lot of times they'll add some different chemicals or elements to it as well. But through that process, it makes it stronger and more flexible. That's part of why the wheels are so great at BBS. So, and it's the same assembly line. Like the manufacturing facilities are the same that they use for F1. That they use, like if you were to go out and buy a BBS wheel.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is really pretty cool. So they manufacture them in Japan and then ship them overseas into Germany to get them like finished and painted, and then they send them on to the F1 teams.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it is. So the BBS is kind of pretty cool. They're like obsessed with the beauty and the design, and always like trying to push forward. And,
That's right.
but they compare it to trying to achieve that perfection that the Japanese swords have. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty nice stuff. So
It's very cutting edge.
it is very cutting edge. Yes. So BBS, Land of the Rising Sun technology. So Suzuka and the circuit there.
Yeah.
So this circuit's pretty unique. It's the only one that's on the F1 circuit that's a figure 8. So
Oh, interesting.
yeah, so it actually has a little bit of a bridge or tunnel, whichever way you want to look at it.
That's pretty
Or
cool.
both.
Right. Yeah. An overpass.
An overpass, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know that in Japan, the number 8 is a very sacred number?
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more, Dave.
All right. Well, it's
I'm an
actually
inquiring mind.
it's actually known to have special powers.
Okay.
It starts with this with the shape of the hachi, which is, I guess, how you call the number 8.
When I think of it in Japan and I think of the profile of Mount Fuji,
Exactly.
it's just like that.
Yes.
Because it's very symmetrical.
Exactly.
in all the
And
pictures.
that's exactly right. It's supposed to, well, I'm not sure if it's supposed to, but it does resemble Mount Fuji in the sense that it broadens out towards the bottom. And that's supposed to mean it's like opening up to the future, right?
It's cool.
It's a symbol of prosperity, growth. It really represents like many or a lot,
Okay.
right? And in Western cultures, obviously the number 8 kind of on its side means like infinity, right? And so
Yes.
this is very similar in that sense. There's a theory, and it's probably my favorite, is that it actually represents the combining of numbers of the female number, which is number 3, and the male number, number 5. If you combine those in union, it's a number 8.
Nice.
Right?
Nice.
So the romantic in me really likes that.
Oh. It's very touching, Daniel.
Yeah.
I'm
And
moved.
yeah. And there's also other numbers too that don't have as great of a significance.
Okay.
And some of those are like, say, like the number 4. And 4 is sounds like death. Shi.
Ooh.
Yeah. And number 9, ku, which means suffering. So yeah, that's a little bit about the figure 8.
You know, in one of the driver numbers that, of course, that you got to think of when you're going to Japan is Yuki Tsunoda's number, and his number's 22. So the number 22 is pretty interesting. It basically symbolizes some different stuff there, but it's a reminder of inner power and ability to affect your future. So,
That is interesting.
yeah, which is really interesting for him. It's also kind of like an ability to overcome certain scenarios and change what's coming in the future for you.
I wonder if he'll be able to overcome the front end of that Red Bull.
I don't know. Hopefully, he can drive it on a knife's edge.
Right. Well,
Sharp as
that's
steel.
well, yeah, I like that. One of my picks for this week was Lando Norris, and Lando is number 4. That's
so
she.
so you made this pick prior to knowing this.
Exactly.
I wonder in like in Japan what the bookies say if they're going to pick if he's being picked just because of his number or not picked because of his number.
I don't know. But all I do know is that Lewis is 44. 4 plus 4 is 8.
Oh wow, poor Luis.
Nothing but no well, I mean,
yeah,
depends how you look at it, right?
Yeah. So
You could double down on the she, or you can add those together.
it's a good point.
Prosperity and growth
Yeah,
at Ferrari.
yeah, for him. For him and Tifosi out there.
Exactly.
I'm sure they're hoping for that.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah, you've got some other numbers out there too. What Lance
Oh, yeah.
Stroll 18?
Oh, yeah,
so he's
Lance-
going up to 9.
Yeah, Lance Stroll. That means suffering. One, but hasn't that been his whole
Almost spit out
career?
my Red Bull. Yes.
Ocon, 3 and 1. Here we go again.
Yeah, going
That
to the
sheet.
4. Yeah.
Yep. And then we have Piastri. It's like Piastri is the reverse of Stroll, 81.
Yes. Gets 9.
Again, suffering.
Well,
That was fun.
yeah, those good times. Yeah. Yeah. So coming up, we've got some good stuff. You know,
Exactly.
all of the cherry blossoms are supposed to be in bloom on April 5th. It's like the height of cherry blossom
great.
season in Suzuka. So that's pretty cool.
I bet that's no coincidence.
I doubt that it is.
Yeah.
You know, used to, like, the circuit was always held like at the end of the season, so you'd have like all sorts of like championship battles that
That's
were kind
right.
of famous. But now it's held at the beginning, so you get the cherry blossom. So it probably is.
Yeah.
Like that's probably part of his big tourist attraction, help bring more people
That's right.
in. But it's pretty cool. If you guys haven't looked, y'all should look because it's all these different colors of shades of pink and all the trees and everything. It's really pretty.
Yeah.
I really like it.
All right. So on to the race.
Yes, on to the race. So let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, Tsunoda, Lawson, big change there.
Big changes, big news in the F1 world.
Yes.
Wow. Did we see that coming?
We did, in fact, after the Chinese Grand Prix.
Well-
We talked about it.
You heard it here first.
Yes.
We called it.
Yes, we did. We did.
I
And then it
mean,
happened. Red Bull hurt us. And they made the
A
change.
bit of a shock.
They knew the
A bit-
wisdom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
A bit of a shock for Lawson. I think he didn't see it coming.
I don't think he did either. And I heard that he heard about it over social media. Like,
Ooh.
yeah, I don't know if that's true. It could just be something that
Yeah,
somebody
poor
was saying.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does kind of suck for him. I mean, he goes 2 races and then he's canned fastest ever out of Red Bull. But I mean, that's what happens when you're on one of the top teams. Like, you have to perform. You have to. And he wasn't. He was going back and back. Or starting at the back to begin with.
You
even.
can't go backwards. You can only go forward.
Yes.
And you have to be the best at Red Bull. So
You do. You do. And I think it's hard. You know, you've got the best driver in the world with Verstappen going next to you. So,
you have to be able to compete. That's for sure.
yeah.
And he wasn't.
No. I mean, you got to be at least close. I mean, you look at some of the other teams, like, well, for instance, Mercedes, Russell and Antonelli. And he's close. He's finishing like usually, you know, a place or two away from Russell and even, you know, qualifying and also in the races so far. So,
I mean, I don't think anybody expected him to be very close,
Yeah.
but they expected him to be in the points. That's for
right.
sure. I mean, if you're replacing Sergio Perez for Liam Lawson, you better expect results of P5 or better.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Well,
and so what were his finishes were what?
oh my gosh. So,
His two
I mean,
his first 2 races.
Yeah,
were-
let's talk about
he
his
finished
first 2
20th
races.
in China.
Well, I mean, if we take into account today, Japan, he started well, he was 15th in Australia,
Okay.
16th in China, and today's obviously a different story, different car, but similar result.
Yeah.
17th in Japan.
Man. Well, you know, bottom 5.
Hey man, at least he's consistent.
Hey, man, he's fast. That's right. He is consistent.
Consistently bad.
Yeah. He is faster than I am in an F1 car.
Yeah.
I will say, I will give that to him every day, hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know how to drive those cars.
That's why he's faster than me. So we've got Lawson going, and then we got Tsunoda.
Yeah.
So Tsunoda today, man, spoiler alert here, but he wins driver of the day. So that's pretty awesome for him. I don't
In his home race,
in
for
his
sure.
home race. I mean, I guess it's kind of deserved, but in a way,
Well, let's be real.
I would have given it to somebody else. But
He gave us the most amount of overtakes, I think, right?
yeah, I think
Moving up
I think-
2
I think
whole
that's
places.
correct. Yes, he moved up 2 places. Yeah,
The race was a bit of a bore, though.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It was.
but it was good to see him do a little better than he had qualified, because his
Yeah.
quali was a little lackluster,
He
considering.
he looked good in Q1, and then in Q2, it
Yeah.
just kind of fell apart for him. And what did they do? They did something with the tires on there. Didn't do some stuff with the tires.
Well, they didn't give him a second set to go and set a good lap for the first, for the first run. So,
Yeah, so he was using like old tires,
right,
He was
yeah.
using used tires in Q2, where if they had let him go earlier
with 2 new sets.
yeah, with 2 new sets, maybe he could have, because he was only 0.6 of a second off of Verstappen's pace.
Right.
In Q2, but yeah, and that was one of the things, like Mercedes did that with Antonelli,
Yeah.
which helped him get into Q3.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so Tsunoda possibly could have done that.
And going into quali, he was doing really well in practices.
Yeah.
So it's a shame he couldn't execute when it counted.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a shame there. But you know who did execute?
Liam Lawson?
No. Well, he did. I mean, he did qualify like one place above him.
Executed his career.
Yes. So Liam Lawson did, but then Isaac Hajar. So he actually gets into Q3, and I mean, it has a decent race. Finishes, gets some points.
Really funny about Hajar, though.
That's true.
He might be the last of his name.
Yeah. Yeah. It very well could be. Yeah.
Tell us why.
Well, because in qualifying in Q1, he's complaining about all this pain in the car, and everybody's like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
And so in between Q1 and Q2, like he comes into the pits and they work on his seat. We think it's his seat belts.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. It could have been something like maybe something with the seats off, maybe padding or something. But whatever it was causing him a significant amount of pain to where he was having trouble driving the car and he was complaining about it. And in between Q2 and Q3, he has to get out of the car and get it readjusted again. So in talking about that, they did talk about all the safety belts that are on them. So you've got your normal safety belt around your waist, you've got over your shoulders, and then you've got one that comes up in between your legs and goes, So to me, if I'm a guy and all that's going on, there's probably some uncalled for tension on the one that's in between his
probably
legs.
very crushing.
A crushing experience for him. So hopefully everything's okay. He did race pretty well today. We didn't hear any more about it today. So I'm assuming that everything's okay, or it's a very personal issue and he doesn't want to talk about it. But whatever the case may be, he did finish in the top 10 today. So
he did.
Good for him, man.
First time in the points.
Yeah. I like this guy.
I think he's like going to be the new fan favorite for sure.
He's definitely my favorite rookie right now.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah,
I like him.
Antonelli, I like a lot too, but I don't know. Yeah. There's something like Hajar is a little bit of the underdog.
He's got a good personality.
Yeah.
Very
cares about what he's doing. Very passionate.
Very zillennial.
Very
emotional.
Yes, very emotional guy in a good way. Very passionate.
In a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. In a heartwarming way. So our other the last Red Bull driver to talk about, Max Verstappen.
Oh, Max Verstappen. I almost forgot about him. I was like, who's that?
I know. Yeah. So this guy they call him Max Verstappen, and he's known as one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Or the greatest of all time. So Suzuka, he's won the past 3 years, comes in this year. And so far this year, their RB car has not been considered as good as the McLaren.
Right.
And I know that you and I don't remember your picks, but my picks were Norris and Piastri, I believe, if I remember correctly. But the McLaren has looked great.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was going to kind of continue that path. And we go into Q3, and Verstappen lights it up.
Yeah, he really does.
Fastest lap ever at Suzuka. Last year he won qualifying. I think last year might have been the fastest at the time, but this year he's over a full second faster than he was last year. And we talk about that RB car not being as fast, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's definitely evolved. And Verstappen continues to impress, because if that car hasn't evolved, he's driving it way past its limits.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
Once he qualified and once he set that time, his comment when he got out of the car was he thought he was going to wreck a few times on the lap. Like he was that on the edge.
Well, that's how you have to drive it.
You do, man. If you're going to be the best, you got to drive the best.
That's right.
And so he's definitely doing that. So it was pretty awesome to see. So he comes in pole position.
Incredible.
Yeah. Nails
what a lap.
Yeah. Nails it. Yeah. And then, in the Grand Prix, nails the start too. And
I love that. I love the way he had the car pointed towards Norris already.
Yeah, he had it pointed
like,
exactly where he was going to go. There was no question what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Norris knew, the whole place knew.
Yeah, he knew.
Yeah. And dominates right from the start. The question was, are his tires going to last? Yeah, his tires lasted. They pit, they McLaren tries to undercut him with Piastri pitting first. So the next lap, like he and Norris pit.
Right.
Yeah. And they're just on, and like he's on the whole time. And tire deg wasn't really an issue for him. It was degrading about as fast as McLaren. So, which is pretty interesting. Like they haven't really had that experience for most of last year. And
yeah, I don't know where it came from.
I don't either.
That was really good. And you're right. Like when they pitted, he, stuck his elbows out a little bit and said, nope.
That was one of the most exciting points of the race.
Yeah. So, if you watch the race, you'll know that it started and then it ended and not a whole lot happened. But I think the most exciting part of the weekend was actually the shunt that Doohan had.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that here in a little bit, but I don't know where the pace came from for Max, and it was just incredible to see and hear him. Like it wasn't like simply lovely.
Yeah.
It was like like a very visceral, like I did it. I drove a lap. He knew it. So really, I was surprised that he wasn't the driver of the day, but also not, because it makes sense. Yuki, debuting on the Red Bull car in the in the Japanese colors and things like that. Like,
my vote was for Verstappen.
Yeah, same here. And I know he'll never win it for sure.
It's a stain on his soul.
Yeah, but he did a good job of keeping Norris behind. And when it was close, fighting him, and thank goodness there were no grass fires.
Yeah.
Because I think there was like 5 of them or more. Thank you for all those red flags, but no thanks in the race.
Yeah.
And good thing it rained, right? But it was good to see. It was good to see Red Bull back on top, and too bad Yuki couldn't do that as well, but it was good.
Yeah, I thought he drove really well. I think if he had qualified a little bit better, I think he would have been able to hold that position and get some points.
Right.
I think he's a better. This may be overreaction right now, but I think he's a better fit in that car than Lawson, definitely.
For sure.
And I think that he's going to get some points pretty soon.
Yeah,
that's my overreaction.
I have a feeling. We were talking about how long could it be before he settles in, and I think he looked pretty settled in, and I think Red Bull has confidence in him.
Yeah,
that they definitely wouldn't show even Perez, because Perez, they would give him those extra sets in Q2 and things like that, and obviously for Lawson, they had no trust in him. Obviously, they got him out in 2 races, but it's interesting. It's interesting to see how long before he's in the points, and I'd love to see him in the podium soon.
Yeah, I would too.
I really hope the best for Yuki. Like he's worked so hard. It's been how many years? Like 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years.
That's crazy. But anyway, going back to the crash.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So it's kind of interesting doing his driving, and he wrecks, and he has this 50G wreck, like 50 Gs on his body, and he's wrecking like sideways into the barrier.
Oh my gosh!
So I mean, like I'm instantly thinking, dude, this I have no idea if he had a concussion or not, but if not, like that's definite brain injury type Gs that he's facing like that. But he was able to come back and get into qualifying. Didn't do that great. Qualified 19th to start, did well in the race, ended up finishing 15th.
Yeah.
Which is, for him, it's
not terrible.
No, it's not terrible, especially considering where he was after that wreck. That was an awful wreck. That's probably one of the worst ones that we've seen in
a little
quite
bit.
some time. Yeah.
That was scary, actually.
Yeah. It was, gosh. But so, yeah, and that was kind of impressive too. He finished 15th. Sainz had passed him. Sainz was on the soft tires at the end of the race, passed him. Gasly, they let Gasly go in front of him, and Gasly had better pace.
Right.
But hey, that's not terrible. Yeah. And I thought that he did better than he has in the past couple of weeks. So that was kind of cool to see.
Question for you, Craig, then is are we seeing a repeat of a Lawson situation with
Ooh.
Doohan, except he's not going to go anywhere outside than like out the door.
Yeah, he would go either out the door or go back to being like the reserve driver.
Yeah.
There is a possibility of that.
I mean, do we call it here? Do we do that? Is it too early or
I don't know if that's a good question. Is it too early? Maybe. But then again, like I think he's on the hot seat. He's got to perform. He did a little bit better this weekend, even though he cost his team probably $1 million to $2 million with that wreck. So is it not? I don't know. You look at Calapinto, because he would probably be the person that would take his place. He had a lot of accidents last year in Williams. Yes, he drove fast. Yes, he was a good driver.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he had a lot of accidents. So, I mean, that costs your team the ability to progress with your car significantly. So I don't know. I don't think he's on the hot seat like Lawson. Not like that, but I think it's pretty close. I think if he does poorly in the next race or so, yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm thinking Miami, give or take one race.
Yeah, very well. Yeah.
And again, this isn't like, obviously I wish him the best.
Yeah.
I think I really,
cool
I think he's honestly like a very decent driver. Obviously he's an F1 and he's got a great personality, good on in the broadcasts as like a support for the F1 folks, right? But looking at how he's doing and that he's like a driver that's like snowballing with like lack of confidence, I could see him getting kicked out the door pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I think they would take a page out of the Red Bull playbook.
Possibly. I will say one more thing on his wreck. He was driving in the simulator, and in the simulator they found that they could engage or disengage the DRS a little bit later into that curve than what they originally thought, and so that's what he was trying to do there. So it wasn't that he was just driving around and just lost control totally, just randomly. But
it
was
an
experiment
fast,
they were trying to do. So so his team probably knew that he was going to do that and was okay with him trying to do that.
Right.
But they thought that he was going to be able to make it.
I don't blame him. And if he's going to crash because he's leaving it, all out there and he's doing experiments to go even faster, that's pretty
cool.
That's the way, that's part of the business, right? You're trying to go fast and you're going to end up on the wall.
Yeah. You got to push it to the limit. See where that limit is sometimes. Hopefully you find it and stay on the wheels instead of off.
Right. Yeah. But very interesting.
Yes.
And not a whole lot of noise between Norris and Piastri, a little bit towards the end, but nothing
Piastri had a little bit faster pace than Norris, but then again, that could have been just him saying that or feeling that way.
That's right. Nothing too dramatic, though.
No, they just couldn't catch up. But I did think like it was... there was a thought for a little bit there, like, okay, should McLaren let Piastri go because he's got a little bit faster pace? But they said, no, let's keep with Norris. So in a way, that's good because it wasn't like they probably have the stats to back that up that they're looking at the time. If not, if it was like a little bit better for Piastri, should they have gone maybe in the race moment? But I don't think he would have caught Max.
I don't think so.
And the other thing is, like in the Drivers' Championship, it makes a huge difference for them if they keep Norris at the front right now.
Right.
Because in this scenario, he stays 1 point ahead. If Max was winning, he stays 1 point ahead at the end of the day.
That's right.
If not, if he's able to pass, then he's going to extend his lead. So from that standpoint, it's actually kind of a good strategy, I think.
It's a good strategy, though. I'm not buying the let's back Lando at this point.
Yeah,
because
they're both number ones.
That's right.
Because everybody gets a participation when Ruben at McLaren, right?
Correct.
Wait, was that allowed?
All right. So next week, we have Bahrain.
Yes, we do. We've got Bahrain next week.
That's right. So what are your predictions?
Ooh, my predictions? Well, since I'm going to overreact about Tsunoda and Lawson, I'm going to overreact about Verstappen. He's going to win next week. He will win all races from this point forward.
Let me write this down.
You've heard it here.
Verstappen wins every
race the rest of the year. I've called it. Yes, comment below. Right. But no, he is going to win next week. He's going to be in.
All right.
He's going to be dialed in. RB's dialed in. He's going to be pumped. Tsunoda's going to get points, but not be on the podium.
Okay.
We're going to have Norris and Russell will be on the podium.
Norris and Russell.
Yeah, now that I say that, I'm
Interesting.
probably regretting not having Piastri on the podium. But
Yeah.
I got to leave something for you to,
All
to
right.
do.
Yeah, no, so I'm going to go Piastri, Norris.
You
Actually,
no.
actually, no, I take that back. We're going to go Piastri, Verstappen, Norris.
Piastri, Verstappen, Norris.
Yes, exactly. That's what we're going to do.
Okay. All right. We'll see. We'll see
feel
how
like
this rolls out.
I don't believe that Piastri is okay at any moment with Lando in front of him.
I agree with you, but I
So-
still think he's like, there are times where he makes just minor little mistakes.
Yeah.
And I saw one today that the broadcasters didn't point out near the latter part of the race, and it was after it cost him a little bit of time,
Yeah.
but I think the race had already been decided at that point. But
Yeah.
there's times where he makes just slight mistakes, but I do think he's maybe a little bit quicker than Norris
Yeah.
overall.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah. So interesting stuff there.
anything else, Craig?
No, that's it, man. Just like, subscribe, comment below.
You know what to do.
Yes, you do. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Craig.
No, thank you, Danny. Bye.